I know something about you. Scary, right? You are going to die. Yes, you heard that right. At some point, you will cease to exist. Maybe right now, maybe at 3 a.m., maybe in the middle of a totally mundane Tuesday. We know death will come for everyone, without discrimination, rich or poor, successful or unsuccessful, virgin or jad. We have always known this, and yet we can't fathom that knowledge without even a little mental breakdown. This fear makes sense because we can't imagine what it would be like if we just ceased to exist. The thought of it comes off as foreign. We just can't picture it or experience it mentally. We can only understand it intellectually. It may be shocking, but there is a clinical diagnosis for this anxiety, and it's called Thanatophobia, which is experienced by 3 to 10% of population. The symptoms include obsessively checking for signs of illnesses, not being able to drive across bridges, fear of flight. People with thanatophobia stop living their life by spending more energy avoiding situations that even has a small risk of death. But even for normal people who don't have this condition, the fear lurks deep within their mind because it's the unknown territory. We humans fear the unknown, even more than we fear something that we know is dangerous. No matter how much mental effort we put, we cannot imagine our non existence. You can try it right now. Try to picture it. Due to the very nature of non existence being incomprehensible to our mind, this task is impossible. Your every attempt produces darkness, silence, or void. But even the concept of nothing, within the limits of our mind, is still something that our brain is witnessing. Our mind refuses to model its own absence. So we, as the observer, are always in there, watching something that our mind interprets as nothing. The machinery that's required to observe is the thing that's missing. That's why the mind perceives this little exercise as trying to find our own blind spot. We humans are wired to fear the unknown. Death is the unknown. That ends all the other unknowns. It is the unknown that our mind can't even comprehend. So we look away and find comfort in not thinking or having conversation about it. To escape from this very real fear of non existence, humans throughout history have decorated it. They created many different concepts like afterlives, heaven, reincarnation, Valhalla to explain existence after death. They found solace in the idea that they will continue to exist in some form even after leaving their body. I personally do not believe in any of this. For me, the answer is I don't know. But the ideas that were formed to explain the human state after death is fascinating to me. Considering people constructed many ideas and beliefs to explain our existence after death to make it bearable across every culture, every era, and every civilization reveals the fear of personal extinction that lurks deep within us as a group. And there is something almost tender about that. It's very humane, and it's like existential equivalent of leaving a light on. But I have one problem with that. As understandable as these beliefs are, sometimes they make our fear worse. If this is a transition, then it matters what we did here, to a great extent. If there is judgment, then every failure is loaded. If we exist after death, then we have to worry about how we exist. Instead of looking death as a problem to be solved, I want to look it as a fact to be embraced. Some philosophers across history came up with excellent perspectives. Epicurus was an ancient Greek philosopher who founded the philosophical school of Epicureanism, and one of his great teachings was removal of unnecessary fears, including the fear of death. When death is present, we are no longer there to experience it. So we will never encounter death. Our death and our life will never be together in a same room. It's not our problem to deal with death, and in a literal sense, it's nothing to us. The only fear of death arises from our belief that even after death, awareness still exists. For me, this sounds liberating, and maybe it is. When I think about it, death is not a thing I will ever experience. What I have feared is the anticipation of non existence, the loss of future experience, the grief that my loved ones will feel if I am gone forever. But do I fear the state of being dead? Nope. I will not be there to experience it because there isn't any experience to be had. Stoics took a different approach. Memento Mori, a Latin phrase that translates to remember that you will die, is a popular practice among Stoics. It's a reminder to not pointlessly torture ourselves over situations that are out of our control, because one day all our suffering and turmoil will vanish with us. Marcus Aurelius, The Roman emperor from 161 to 180 CE meditated with the idea that if we acknowledge our mortality, our trivial worries lose power over us, and we can focus on our connection to people that we care about, to nature, to our goals and ambitions, and live a rich and fulfilling life. In Buddhism, there is idea of impermanence. This teaching encourages us to accept that there is no permanent fixed self in any matter, but also other matters that's present in the universe. Our self that fears death is not a fixed entity. Like a river is always changing and moving, never the same thing twice. After we die, our remain becomes one with other matters in the universe, interacts with them, and blends with the changing of time, seasons, and the continuous flow of nature. So the death we fear is the death of something that was never quite as fixed as we imagined. Despite the frameworks I mentioned here are very different, they collide on the problem of attachment. We are attached to the idea of permanent self that must be preserved forever, and that's the root of our suffering. If we let go of that even a little, the fear starts to lose its grip on us. The atoms, energy, and matter that makes us has existed for billions of years. It can be created or destroyed. It existed before we were born and will continue to exist for billions and billions of years after we are gone. It existed as stars, oceans, and probably other life forms, and it will continue to be. Everything we are made up of will reorganize and blend with the universe to create more beautiful and sometimes ugly things. I know pointing out that you will become other things after you die is a cold comfort, but a comfort nonetheless. But really, the things that happened, happened. People we love, the moments that mattered, the events that happened to us, they are real. We can't erase it, and no matter what we do, we can't change what's been and gone. And yet, things will go on when we are no longer here. Thousands of years later, people would still be born. And if they find our remains as an artifact, our views and struggles, our deeply held opinions will be completely irrelevant to them. They might never know about it or care. And instead of finding it sad, I find it freeing. Like, I don't have to be remembered forever. I just have to live well while I'm here. What I truly fear is how I die. Will I die on a bed calmly, peacefully, and with no regrets? Or is it going to be some painful and gruesome end, full of turmoil, an old body that's full of disease and misery? Will I watch people I love grieve while I'm still there in some form like a ghost that can't do anything about it? This is what scares me, and I think anyone who feels this way has valid concerns, because I want to have a good ending, and I try to avoid the thought of a bad end. But the real and everyday kind of fear of death for many people is actually a fear of life, a fear that we are not doing good enough, being enough, living fully enough before the clock runs out. It's a very unhealthy way for the mind to cope, and that means the cure for death anxiety is not making peace with death, rather, it's about making peace with life. Memento Mori was meant to make us ask what really matters in this finite time that we have. Our time will be over one day. What do we want to do when we still have time? The suffering of this moment is temporary. So, how do we want to deal with it? Our every problem, suffering, embarrassment, failure, things we are dreading right now, at this very moment will be over one day. With every tick of a clock, we are moving towards the finish line, whether we want to or not. And the only relevant question is how should we approach the finish line? I can convince you to be not afraid of death because we can't logic our way out of it, at least not completely. I don't believe fear works that way, but there is a difference between having fear and being ruled by it. One is honest and can even have positive outcome depending on the circumstances, and the other is just a waste of time. Neither philosophers, physicists, nor priests know the other side. They are uncertain like you, me, and everyone else that's watching this video. But the real and finite life that we are experiencing right now is something we are familiar with because we have experienced it. The life we are experiencing right now, it's real and it's finite, and that's why it matters. So maybe death isn't our enemy. Maybe death is the reason our life matters.